You ready? Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the OD with Onyx. I am your host, Onyx, and if you don't remember or don't know, the OD stands for the overdose. We always tell you to or talk about overdose in a negative context, but we want you to overdose on good things, and we're going to do a good thing here today. We have here, or I have here, none other than Darrell Redmond, Portsmouth legend. Darrell is a community activist, and he does a lot of wonderful things to inspire the community and our youth. But what often is missing is what someone had to go through and the journey that they had to go through to get to where they are, and we don't get to talk about that. So people think he's an overnight success or a sensation and that he just popped on the scene, but that's not the case. He's gone through a lot to get here. So Darrell, thank you so much for joining me today.
I thank you for having me, Ms. Onyx.
Oh, Miss Onyx. Yes. Thank you, Darrell. So Darrell and I grew up and we were childhood friends. He used to kind of, tell me what to do, kept me safe. So he's always been pretty much a protector, but a lot of people don't know that part of him. So Darrell has a very interesting story, and a story that's not unlike a lot of people that grew up in the community that we came from, London Oaks, but a lot of people aren't willing to share. So Darrell, if you could just share with us your early childhood. When was the first time that you got incarcerated?
The first time I got incarcerated, I went to Tidewater Detention Home at the age of 12 for grand larceny.
And now that we know that, so we know that Darrell went to Tidewater Detention Home at the age of 12 for grand larceny, but we want to know and understand what the backstory is. So what happened in your life to cause you to go down that route?
First of all, me growing up, I grew up and I had two sides to my family. On my father's side of the family, they was pretty much had things, but on my mother's side of the family, they didn't have. My mother was a user. My father was good on his side, but at the age of 12, my father went blind. And I remember waking up one morning and my father said he couldn't see. We were staying across from Maryview. And I was like, what you mean you can't see? So what happened was they found out that my father had diabetes that he didn't know. And he had cataracts on his eyes and glaucoma and different things like that. So through that procedure with having a father who was a provider for so long, it just, then when he went blind, it was like I didn't have. So certain things that I was used to having, I was negated of having. So I just went out there and did whatever I had to do to get the things to be able to live the same lifestyle that I was living.
So at the age of 12, would you say that you felt like you had to become the man of the house?
I did have to become the man of the house.
Okay.
I had a little brother and a little sister that was staying with my mother, and like I say, on that side of the family, there was a lot of drug use, a lot of abuse and things like that. So I had a brother and sister who was dependent upon me. And on my grandmother's side of the family, I'm the oldest grandchild. So it was a lot of grandkids and everybody. So it forced me to become a man at a very young age.
Okay. And what was that like for you? Was there a struggle? Did you try to kind of walk both sides? What happened to even introduce you to wanting to what happened to get you on the path of being incarcerated at the age of 12?
First of all, I was very adamant about sports. So I always went to school, even when I was in the streets and at a young age, I was still in the sports. I was only going to school. But once those things happened, first of all, I had an uncle who was real big in the streets. I had a lot of guys that I looked up to. There was a lot of guys that was in the streets that they was trying to keep me away from the things that was going on for so long. But yet, as much as they was trying to keep me away from doing the things that I had decided to do, it ultimately became my decision. So it was no way that I was going to allow my brother and sister and them ones to go through without eating, without having. So I went out and started, like I say, first doing small stuff that led me up to grand larceny, which led to a little bit of time, and led to robbery, which led to selling drugs. So I had an uncle who was a big known drug dealer. So at the point of a teacher telling me that people who sell drugs was a monster, I had an uncle that was putting food on the table, putting clothes on my back, make sure a roof over my head. So now I started looking at the teacher like, you the monster, because without him I can't eat.
Right.
Without him, I don't have shoes on my feet. I don't have the necessities of life without these people in my life.
Right. And so it's important that we touch on that. So basically you were put in a position where you felt like either you do these things in order to have the necessities, or you and your family had to go without. So it wasn't just like a situation where, okay, I just need to make the adjustment. If you didn't get it, nobody was going to get it. Is that true?
I was making a sacrifice in regards to myself. It didn't even matter to me at that point. It was about them being okay.
Right. So how long did you spend incarcerated the first time?
I went to juvenile. I stayed in juvenile about 9 months. I came home. After I came home from juvenile, I started, it became a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So after the juvenile, I was like, that ain't nothing. So then that's what winded me up to going to prison. I did 4 years. And then after coming home from prison, doing 4 years, I stayed home approximately 11 months, and I went back for 20 years and some change.
So how old were you when you came home?
When I came home the last time, I was 41.
No, not this time. So when you went at 12.
When I was 12, and then when I went to prison, I came home. First time I came home from prison, I was 19 years old.
Okay, so you went at 12 and you didn't come home.
No, I went at 12, I did 9 months, and I went back at 15.
Okay, so I want to make sure, because I want to make sure we tell the right timeline. So you went basically from 12 to 13. Is that right?
Exactly.
And then you came home for how long?
Then I stayed home till I was 15.
Okay. So during the time of 15, what happened? Between 13 and 15, so that's 2 years. What was going on with you?
It was like my father was first sent to Richmond to go to the school for the blind. So I went to stay with my mama for a minute. That became something that I won't go do, because she was, like I said, she was into another lifestyle. I just thank God now that she's better, she's not into it. But that lifestyle then that was going on caused me to look at things from a different perspective. So I was just going hard.
Right.
I was going hard to make sure my family was okay.
Yeah.
So after me going so hard with my family being okay, it wanted me to go to prison. To prison this time from 15 to the age of 19.
So I think that is a big thing that we're missing out on, and people don't get a lot of times when we just lock up our youth because they've done something, right? We don't really try to find out what the backstory is, what's going on, and there's other ways that we can help. So you go back, you get out, you go at 12, you come home, you go back at 15, and then you're locked up in prison as a 15-year-old from the age of 15 to 19, which are very, very important years. I don't know, because I'm a female, but I know those were very important, formative years for me. It was when I was able to basically learn how to trust my own mind and my own decisions when I was out here. So what happened then? How do you feel like that affected you? And because I can't imagine having,
When you go in as a juvenile, and back then, like now, the Department of Corrections has a lot of different, but back then it wasn't nothing about rehabilitation. It was like warehouse. You throw you away, lock you away for the key, whatever your time up, they let you go. So they wasn't giving you no type of skills, no type of nothing in order to be productive when you was coming out. So it became easy to go back to a situation because that situation is like, it really don't matter. If you come out, when I came out at the age of 19, I tried to do right. Tried to get a job, tried to do this. You giving me, back then it was giving me $7 and some change an hour. I tried to get an apartment. My apartment was like $470 a month. I didn't even have enough to pay my own bills.
Right.
So if I'm working for $7.50 an hour, I don't even have enough to pay my own bills.
Right.
What are you subjecting an individual to do?
And I just want to point out some things, right? So you got locked up in your formative years. You came home with a felony.
Exactly.
And so did that make it harder for you to get a job?
Yes, everywhere you went, the first thing they say is, have you been convicted of a felony? And I'm like, yeah, but I was telling people then, I got a harder work ethic than the people that don't.
Right.
But they look at that and you start to be categorized. And they start to look at you and start to devalue you as an individual. Right. Just because you have a felony. Right.
So at 19 years old, you come out, you're trying to do right, you're trying to get a job, you're trying to do whatever it is that you need to do, but you can't get certain jobs because you have a felony. The jobs that you have won't pay the rent, they won't pay the bills, and you still got a family that you need to take care of. Am I summarizing correctly?
Exactly.
I just want to make sure that we're painting the correct picture, because oftentimes people say, oh, all you have to do is this and all you have to do is that, but it's very hard to do those things when you come out with a system that's not going to give you, they say you got a second chance. Well, you didn't give me an opportunity to really do anything with the second chance that you say I got.
So on top of that, I came home with the responsibility of trying to get my own apartment. I had a daughter, and I had a son on the way. And I was making $7 and like 35 cents an hour.
Wow. And that is not new to America, because even now we talk about how the minimum wage in America, families, a lot of working class people can't even afford to pay rent. But you add to that the fact that you have a felon, that add to the fact that there was no type of skills or anything like that that you were able to learn. So you came out with everything stacked against you. So you're trying to take care of your family. So you have to revert back to, or you feel like you have no choice but to revert back to what you know, right? So how old were you when you went to prison?
Second time. I was 21.
21.
I was 21 years old when I went to prison the second time.
Okay. And is that when you did the 20 years?
Exactly.
Okay. So how old are you?
Just turned 42.
So out at 42, how much time did you spend in the Department of Corrections?
I spent 20 years, 9 months. 9 months, that's 21 years and 8 months, and 4 years, 25 years, 8 months altogether.
So 25 years and 8 months of his life was spent behind bars. The first time that you got locked up, they didn't teach you anything, right? You didn't learn anything. So you were basically just, okay, we just gonna hold you in here. Because a lot of times people like me, we believe that you go to prison and you get rehabilitated and that you learn things. And you know, that's literally what I always thought. I didn't understand until I had friends that went through this, that no, you go there and you just do your time and nobody, you don't learn anything. Am I correct in saying that time literally stands still for you, but the rest of us move on?
Listen, you know, they have a saying that they say you only do 2 days when you go to prison. You do the day you go in and the day you come out. The world changes, but you don't. That's why, like, a lot of times, like me, when I just did the time to come here, man, you ain't aged a bit. But the world has aged.
Right.
The world has advanced. The world has computers. Like, I've been home now a year and some change, and I still don't understand how to operate a computer. I still don't understand email. I still don't understand it, because that's not given.
Right.
Which I done sat down and talked to people before and said that, okay, I don't understand how to fill out a job application on a computer. But if you give me a paper application and you can get anybody who's filled out the application online with a phone, I guarantee you, you'll hire me before you hire me.
Right.
Because I know how to write, I know correct punctuation. Computers and technology now, I believe that it helps a lot because it makes it faster, but it hinders the learning ability of our youth because of the spell check and different things and research. When I came to school, we had to research through encyclopedias, through books, and read and understand.
Yeah.
It's not going on there.
They'll never know the struggle of having to do a paper with half of the Encyclopedia Britannica and you never had an alphabet that you need because your mama couldn't afford to finish paying the bill, so they'll never understand that struggle. So I agree with you, but that we're making a joke on something because that's true, but at the end of the day, that's a real life situation that he faced, because I give him a hard time all the time about his phone, but he literally was just like, you got an advanced phone, but because it was so advanced and they didn't teach you those things, because a lot of times we feel like when we have friends and relatives that are locked up that we're doing the time with them, and we are in a sense, but not really, because we're still learning as that goes on.
Exactly.
And this is very, very important, and I want to make sure that we get this out, and I wanted to get this out the way because I want everyone to understand how much time Darrell did in prison, and understand that when given the right tools and things like that, things that are needed, what a change can be made in not only your life, but in the life of the community. So this concludes part 1 of our interview, but make sure that you tune in and stay tuned for part 2, because we're going to go through the process of what happened next.